Hey guys, Mustached Tom here to review Moana 2. So, before I begin my review, I've seen trailers for this, but I've also seen thumbnails for reviewers, and there seems to be a split camp between this movie. Half of them seem to say that this movie is a disappointment, while the other half seems to be satisfied with the sequel. So, the two very distinct camps. Now, the other piece of information I knew about going into this was that this was originally meant to be more of a series that got turned into a full-length movie. That's about the only thing I knew. I decided not to check out any of the reviews. Instead, just to go to see the movie myself. I just knew that a good number of people thought it was a disappointment, and now to come to my own conclusion, using the objective stuff that happens in the film and to talk about it. With that out of the way, let's dive right in. So the movie starts off on a new island that Moana is visiting, and she has traveled with her pig to the top of it, and she appears to be looking for other people from other islands. This seems to be consistent throughout the entire film, so I'm not sure if that was meant to be the disappointment or not, though I have a suspicion of what the disappointment might be in. I can't say for certain without seeing other reviews of this movie that have disappointment in the title or in the thumbnail of their movies, which again I don't do because I want to form my own opinion based on the objective facts of the film. So, anyway. So, the chicken causes her to fall. A little bit inconvenient, but she comes across this object that alludes to her that there are indeed other people. They're just not here. So she sings her first song about wanting to go back. She now has a little sister who runs up to her and gives her a hug and all this stuff. And the two of them go into this cave where Moana goes over a little bit of lore here, talking about the original Wayfinder. We then cut to our second perspective character, Maui, who is speaking with some spirit that he is confronting for some reason or another. This might be one of the disappointing things. It's a little bit vague on why he's here. That mission statement in the first movie was way more clear. He was there to steal the heart. Whether that, the whole what drove the plot of the first movie, essentially. But this time around, he does seem to be here for a more vague reason. I didn't write anything, I didn't catch anything in my notes that signifies a reason of what he was doing here. But I digress. Meanwhile, Moana is almost struck by lightning, or struck by lightning. I'm fairly certain it's close to being struck by lightning, but is given a vision of the lost faring people that came before her. So, when she awakens, she sings about the stars and going beyond about that. But her sister is meaningfully upset, so Moana comforts her younger sister. And thus, she gets ready to get off to her new adventure. This time, bringing some new companions. These characters are sort of like minor characters that sort of, have mini arcs, I guess, along the way. We have the Builder. I didn't catch any of their names, to be honest. We have the Builder, we have the Admirer of Maui, and we have the Food Guy, the Farmer. But meanwhile, So Maui, we learn, is surrounded and captured, and we then see that she's having a little bit of trouble, but she's trying to build up the morale of her team and build up the team to be a little bit more focused on the mission at hand. They run into a familiar foe of the Coconut Tribe, but they inform, once they are forced to confront them, that these creatures too are also separated, so there does seem to be a connection even despite the rivalry that has been prior in the first movie. And they have the Coconut Tribe coconuts have a bigger threat of this clam thing, the thing you see in the poster there behind the two of them. So they want to deal with that. They get trapped inside, however, bringing one of the coconuts alongside with them. Moana gets separated from the rest of them, though. So the others, they're down there. They want to get out, obviously. And they bump into Maui. This is where Maui, I guess, just happens to be. We meet what I assume is one of the main points of contention, or what people are again disappointed by. I believe her name was Matanagi, I think. I think that's her name. This antagonist, or seen as an antagonistic force, I guess is upsetting people for not being a proper Disney villain, even though Moana, the first one, didn't have a villain, or, not a villain per se, but more of an antagonistic force. So I'm a little confused if that's the criticism. I mean, this is a sequel, so I would assume that the follow-up would have a very similar setup to the first movie in terms of what they're dealing with out in the world. So this seems only an extension of that. So I don't know. Like, the only conclusion I can come to is that this lady that she, Moana, interacts with, doesn't get her own conclusion to being stuck here. That seems to be the only thing I can think of that seems to be, like, not just, handled or brought to the light of the situation that unfolds. Like, that's the only thing, and then outside of that, I'm a little bit confused by the people that are saying this is disappointing. I mean, unless that's it, which I don't know if that's enough for me to say this movie's bad or disappointing, per se. Anyway. So they managed to get the sea creature to stop, and they managed to get into, reach sunlight, or get to a location, because they're being chased by these, like, night monsters or whatever. So they stop being chased when they're out. And she's a bit bummed, Moana. She's lost her gas, as it were. So Maui gets his song for the movie. Sort of a sequel to You're Welcome, I suppose. A very similar style, or, well, it's not fully similar, but it does go in a similar way where it picks up as that same song does. Excuse me. So Maui gives her the support that she needs right now, and talks about how he was the one who needed help the last time, so he's returning the favor, or needs that help again in a different way. But she, seeing how Maui is struggling when they get to the island, it's underwater, so Maui's trying to pull it up, and these like hurricanes, like and the god or whatever curse or whatever it is afflicting this area. Seems to be more focused on humans, but it's not seeming to pay too much attention to Maui. At least that's what Moana picks up on. So she wants to serve as her side will be the distraction while Maui focuses on getting the island up. So he begins to do that, and he begins to indeed pull it up, and the others have to sort of loop around to get back to the island after the distraction and doing so. However, she takes in the knowledge or the advice she got from the stuck spirit, I'll call her Mata for short, to sort of find another way, that there is always another way. So she decides, instead of waiting for Maui to pull the island up, to rather swim it down toward the island and touch it, which would, I guess, count as humans making contact with the island, which is like what would remove the curse, I guess. That part is a little bit vague, but whatever. But simultaneously, as she touches it, she does get struck by lightning officially here. Shows she's quote-unquote dead. So Maui mourns her. He begins to sing a more spiritual-like song. The other spiritual ancestors surround her. Her own grandmother surrounds her. And they gift her with a tattoo, which I guess based on what we know about Maui signals that they are upgrading her to a demigod, goddess, as it were. After receiving said tattoo, she reprises one of her earlier songs, and indeed more people from around the world are able to access this island now that it's here, and they're able to join forces with the tribe that she is a part of, bringing the groups together, and set sail once more to chart uncharted territory, and that was Moana 2. And yeah, I'm a little bit confused. This movie seems fairly consistent for something that was supposed to be episodic. And I'm trying to pinpoint where the disappointment is, and I'm struggling a little bit, I guess. Like the whole maybe it really is the Mata, the stuck spirit situation. I'm not necessarily sure it's her. Again, based on her little, she just kind of remains stuck, I guess. Question mark, that seems to be unresolved, as it were. But outside of that, I am really struggling to see what people are disappointed in. I mean, the music is fine. Like, that part's fine. Her journey seems rather consistent. It was, at the beginning, to find people. She did that, the exact thing. She did indeed find more people outside her island. So, she stayed on her task. So I'm a little bit confused. I guess I would prompt to say that I'm a bit more on the side of saying this movie is fine. Like, it's like a 7 out of 10, where I don't remember if I also gave Moana that. I think I gave Moana an 8. It's been a while. I don't remember the score I gave it. But, I mean, the finale of Moana, the first one, to me is a lot stronger as its conclusion. It just, in terms of, like, pure imagery and the song that, like it all culminating into this like wicked style, like uh not the musical, but like this really gnarly looking imagery where like the seas part, uh, and she's like confronting this lava demon that we end up discovering is like this kind spirit that has been inflicted by Maui's mistake. Like that all together is just like a really, really powerful imagery ending on top of the song. Here, her reprisal is cool. It's not a different song. It's a, I think our reprisal's nifty as well. I'm not gonna say it's necessarily a bad thing to have a reprisal of a song. And the direction they took her in of making her a demigoddess doesn't necessarily surprise me that much, I guess. I mean, she already kind of had powers to a degree, I guess, right? She always had that connection to water, and that seems to only be made stronger at the end of this movie through this whole goddess or demi-goddess ordeal that she's now been tied to. So, yeah, while there isn't a booming ending, I would argue. Again, Moana, I would argue, has a more like powerful, overall image of its ending. I would still say the ending, at least from the setup of this movie, seems to be conclusive at the very most. That's something that's still worthy of praise, I would argue. Sure, again, not as big and bombastic, fair enough, but I don't know if I would downgrade all the way to disappointed is what my end conclusion brings me to, so I guess I would still argue a 7 out of 10 regardless. I don't even necessarily know if the lost antagonist bit drops it even to a 6 necessarily for me. She seemed more like a minor character anyway. So I'm not really sure. So yeah, long ways to say that Moana 2 is fine. It's totally fine. And yeah, that's my review of it, so there we go. So if you ended up enjoying that review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. I want to head over to my petition to help out small YouTubers. So get to my PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly. And third, to my Discord server, where you join, collab, shield, all that cool stuff. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.